We'll start learning a new set of emotion words, but first let's recap our learning from last week. Last week we looked at these happy words: ecstatic, gleeful, light-hearted, exhilarating, overjoyed, and contented. My challenge for you is to match the words with the pictures. Pause the video and see if you can remember them all. Press play when you're ready to check. Well done if you managed to remember all of those happy words. This week's Mrs. Wordsmith words are all to do with being hopeful. What have you been hopeful for before? Is there anything that you are hopeful for at the moment? Pause the video and write or draw something that you have hoped for. This is our first word. We will look at 4 words together today because we have some more interesting and challenging words to learn. Then you'll do some practice independently. Have a look at this first picture and pause if you would like a bit more time. Our first word is idealistic. You will notice a word within this word, ideal. You might already know that ideal means perfect, which helps us with the meaning. Idealistic means very optimistic or believing in perfection. If you are optimistic, you are someone who hopes for the best. Repeat as many times as you can in an idealistic voice. First, begin by finding the 3 synonyms for our adjective idealistic. The synonyms are words with the same or a similar meaning, which are also going to be adjectives. Use the definition and pause the video whilst you find them. Did you manage to find these synonyms? Visionary, very optimistic, and believing in perfection. Now you can practice the word pairs. Some of the word pairs here might be a bit more challenging, so I've just helped you with what these mean. Notion means a belief. Vision means a plan. So practice your word pairs out loud. Here's my sentence. Army had an idealistic dream that one day all the animals would be allowed to vote. Can you practice out loud or write a sentence with the word pair idealistic youngster? Pause the video. Here is our next word. Look carefully at the picture. What do you think Army is hopeful for? Pause if you'd like to look for longer. You may know this next word already. This word is optimistic, which means being hopeful and positive, like being certain that the weather is going to get better. Have you ever gone out for a picnic and been optimistic that the weather would get better? Practice saying this word optimistic as many times as you can in 30 seconds. Can you find the 3 synonyms for our word optimistic? Your synonyms will be adjectives with a similar meaning. Pause the video whilst you find your 3 synonyms. Did you manage to find them all? Our 3 synonyms for optimistic are hopeful, positive, and cheery. Next, I'd like you to find the word pairs. I've done one for you. Optimistic outlook means having a hopeful view on life. Can you say the rest? Here's my sentence. Army was still in an optimistic mood in spite of the pouring rain. I'd like you to come up with your own sentence for optimistic attitude. You can write it or practice it out loud. Pause the video whilst you do it. This is our next word. Look carefully at the picture. How might this be showing something hopeful? Pause if you would like to look for longer. Our next word is auspicious, which means hopeful or encouraging, like getting a sign that everything is going to turn out well. What's the sign in this picture that everything is going to turn out well, do you think? I'd like you to practice writing the word auspicious 10 times. Off you go. Now can you find 3 synonyms for our adjective auspicious? Think back to the definition to help you too. Our 3 synonyms were hopeful, encouraging, and lucky. Now I'd like you to practice the word pairs. Pause the video so that you can practice repeating them. Here's my sentence. A rainbow in the sky is an auspicious sign of good things to come. Can you come up with your own sentence for auspicious day? Remember, you can write it or practice it out loud. Here is our next hopeful word. Look carefully at the picture. What do you notice about Bogart's business? Our next hopeful word is sanguine, which means optimistic and cheery, when you feel happy even though things are going wrong. Bogart is feeling sanguine even though his business is down. How many times can you repeat the word sanguine in 30 seconds? Can you find the 3 synonyms for sanguine? These are going to be 3 adjectives with a similar meaning. Remember to look back at the definition to help you. Pause the video whilst you find them. The 3 synonyms for sanguine were optimistic, hopeful, and cheery. Now practice the word pairs. Pause the video whilst you do that. Here's my sentence. Bogart's sanguine expectations kept everyone feeling hopeful. Can you come up with your own sentence for sanguine personality? Remember, you can write it or practice it out loud. Pause the video. 2 more hopeful words before you go off and do some practice. Our next word is encouraging, which means positive or motivating, like someone who cheers you on. For example, Brick gave an encouraging smile to show his support. Our last hopeful word is promising, which means hopeful or having potential, like a baby rocket scientist. For example, Army's promising career as a rocket scientist began at an early age. Your task is to find the synonyms and word pairs for these 3 hopeful words: sanguine, encouraging, and promising. Remember, you don't need to print the sheets. You can practice out loud or write them down on your own paper if you would prefer. Answers are on the next slide. Pause the video whilst you practice. Your star challenge for today is to write your own ambitious, interesting sentence for each of our hopeful words. For example, Miss Jones was optimistic that the children were going to do some fantastic Mrs. Wordsmith work.